Hello everyone! Thank you so much for tuning in today. So today I've partnered with EVOLVh and I am going to be showing you all of my favorite tips and tricks for achieving an updo at home. So as you can see, I already have my hair up and prepped. I've got it in these rollers. So I started by prepping my hair with the Ultra Shine shampoo and conditioner. This is fantastic because it is so lightweight, but it is also very moisturizing. And as you can tell, it adds a ton of shine to your hair. Now, I know a lot of hairdressers will say, don't wash your hair before an updo. It's better to have dirty hair, that whole shenanigan. But I will say, if you are using the right products to prep your hair, it's okay if you wash before. Now, as you can see, I rolled my hair. So after I washed my hair, I blow dried it using some of the Total Control Styling Crème. What I love so much about this product is that it is a cream consistency, but it gives you the hold of a gel, and it also gives you the volume of a mousse. So if you have it really close to your roots, you're gonna get a ton of volume when you blow dry. This is a fantastic product. I've used it for years. And I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you are like myself and you have finer hair. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take all of these rollers out, and then we will go ahead and begin the updo styling process. I will be using some other EVOLVh products. I will be using UltraFlex Hairspray to really set and hold everything together. And then I will also be using WonderBalm because this is a fantastic product, as it says, for curly hair, but I also think it's incredible for adding shine to hair and smoothing any little fuzzies or flyaways that you may have. So let me get the rest of these rollers out. As you can tell, my hair has a ton of body. This is exactly the kind of lift and texture that you want though for a really good updo. And you're not gonna have to cake your hair or have it feeling dirty either, which is also really nice. So my big goal with this video in particular is that I want to give you the tools you need to be able to tackle updos and styling on your own, whether you're a bride, whether you are attending a wedding, whether you have a party, no matter what you've got going on this summer. I want to arm you with the best possible advice. Now, I've done a lot of updos over the years, and so I think there are several components that you need to address. The first of which is identifying what's going on with your hair texture before you start trying to roll it or pin it or do anything like that. So if you've got naturally frizzy hair, you may want to smooth it out a little bit so it's gonna lay nice when you start tucking and pinning things back and you're not gonna have a bunch of fuzz. So I suggest have your hair blown out or possibly even curled up a little bit, and that's gonna give you some grip and texture depending on how you're wanting to wear it. The next key thing, and I think this is a big piece of advice that a lot of people just don't know about or think about, when you are creating an updo, you really want to have an anchor to start pinning things into. I think a lot of people, when they think about doing an updo on themselves, they want to just kind of pull it all over like this, swirl it around. But what ends up happening is you don't have the volume and distribution in your hair to create a really beautiful structural updo. So what I always like to do is create some sort of a base underneath here and have that either braided or a ponytail or something for all of this top section and side sections to be anchored down into. So let me show you a really simple, easy updo. So like I said, my hair has been prepped with Total Control, so I've definitely got some of that grip, and it's really gonna help to hold it in place. It has that style memory a little bit like a gel. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm keeping it very simple with my tools today because I want you to be able to follow along easily. I'm going to take a parting kind of from a little bit above my ear and diagonal down to the back to where the nape of my neck is. I'm gonna turn around so I can show you, and I'm also going to take a hair tie. So let me show you. What you will do create that diagonal like so, and you'll take your hair tie and put it on this one section on that diagonal. Now, when you get it into a ponytail, what you're going to do is loop it. You're not going to pull it all the way through. So you've got this little loop and you've got the ends hanging out of it. Now, the next part is where some of this magic is going to happen. So I've got my one anchor over here. Now the next part of this is I'm going to take another elastic and pull the other remainder of my hair across here, like so. Now this is the part where some of this hair is going to be falling from the top, so you definitely want to get it laying how you want it. You can always pick up pieces and pull. If they're not laying how you want, a little trick is taking a little bit of hairspray, pull up the hairs that you want to stand up so they have some body and volume, and lightly mist with that hairspray, and you can kind of pinch and hold at the same time. So now, like I said, moving on to that other section of hair that is over here, I'm going to turn around again so I can show you. We've got this little anchor, and then I'm going to take this other elastic and create another little looped ponytail right next to it. Let me show you. And you want to make sure that when you're doing this, you have some hairs hanging down. It creates a lot of softness in an updo, and that's really kind of the feel we're going for with this. Also, because I have bangs, I like to have some softness around my face. So this is a good point where you can go through and sort of pull some pieces down and create that softness. So now that I've got my two little buns, the next part of this is where it gets interesting. So I'm going to take my fingers through that little loop, like so. And what we're going to do is pull this looped part, the top of it, through that opening over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to have a couple of bobby pins ready, and go ahead, I'm going to turn around and show you how we do this and what we're going for. It's going to be kind of a looped, twisted chignon, but it's very secure because we have these elastics in here. So let me turn around and show you how this works. Got your fingers ready. We're gonna take that bun and we're gonna pull it through, okay? So now you've got this little loopy situation. And what you wanna do is take your pin, I'm gonna open it up. Normally I would not use my teeth, but since it's on myself, it's gonna be okay. And you can see this part of this loop, you're gonna pin that up on your head. And you will likely need a couple of bobby pins for this. Kind of going and weaving in between that bun and the back of your head, like so. Feels very secure. I've got one little loopy guy right here. So what we will do, we're gonna loop that up around the top, and you can hide that with another pin. Maintain some softness in your hair. And now this is the part where you want to get another mirror like I have here and look into another mirror behind you and see what's going on. So even though I'm turned right here, I can see this needs to come in a little tighter to my head. So for that, because I have the other bobby pins going sideways, what I'm going to do is take a hairpin, loop it up under that hair, and lock it down behind that bobby pin. And that's gonna really secure it even further to your head. So I'm gonna take this little hairpin, kind of go up underneath, you can see the top of it, come back down over that bobby pin to help hold it in place. And then this little guy over here, because my hair is so fine, what I want to do, I have my finger going in vertically, I'm gonna take it and smash that against my head because it will fan that hair out a little bit and create more balance with the back of the updo. So I'm gonna take a bobby pin, like so, find that little loop, come in vertically, like so. And then I'm gonna also come back over here, hairpin that in as well. Now, when I wiggle my head around, nothing is moving. And that is exactly what you want if you are going to be at a wedding, you're gonna be dancing around. So you really can kind of pick and pull the pieces, create that shape that you want, use those hairpins to lock it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this down. This is a very simple sort of style, and whether you have shorter hair or longer hair, I would say kind of collarbone length and longer is probably ideal for this type of updo where you've got the two loops. So let me show you another variation, and you could also finish this off with some UltraFlex. The great thing about UltraFlex is it is not flaky, so you can use it as a finishing spray, but if you also need to move some pieces around, shift things, brush it out a little bit, it's not gonna leave you with a bunch of white flakes like a lot of hairsprays can. So I would love to know if anyone has any questions. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. It's really fun to be able to do this type of video right before wedding season and when things get really busy. I know that like if you're traveling, it can be really hard to figure out what to do with your hair. I know some people like going into the salon, but if you're not interested in going and getting your hair done, I would love to give you a couple of different options and help you figure out how to pin your hair up on your own. All right, so we're getting most of these pins out. The one thing you need to know about a good updo, if it's got a really nice, strong anchored base, you're not going to need nearly as many pins. So, okay, one ponytail is out. Let's do the other one. Thank you. I need those elastic cutters. I don't have one. I just have to yank it out. Okay, got it. All right. So much body in this hair today. Total control really came through. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is something that's a little more kind of rolled and tucked, and then there's an easy looped piece around it. So what we need for this particular updo is we're gonna need a couple of elastics and maybe just a few bobby pins. This is a very, very simple updo, but it comes together and it looks so elegant and really beautiful. So I'm going to turn around and kind of keep turning around. Let me know if you like how I'm doing that. I want to make sure that my audio quality is still good so you can follow along. So for this updo, what we're gonna do is start right around the temples, and I'm just going to use my fingers, this does not have to be complicated, and section out that top portion of hair. And now before we go in and pull this into an elastic, what we're going to do is smooth out this top a bit, just so it looks nice. And again, you can go through before you secure it and pull pieces. You can hairspray a bit to help create a little more definition in those pieces. So I've got my elastic and I'm going to pull that into a half up ponytail. And then I'm also going to pull tight just a little bit. And when I do that, I'm pulling up and forward. So you get a little more volume here through the top and kind of pick and pull those pieces. Now, what I'm going to do is create a little hole and pull these ends down through that hole. Like so. So you get this sort of rolled appearance with your hair. And again, picking and pulling those pieces to help get them laying how you want. This is great if you have finer hair because you can really separate that hair out and make it look like you have a lot more than you actually do. So now that I've got my little half up elastic here, create some visual interest on the top of your head. Now the next portion of this, very, very simple, very easy to do updo. I'm going to take another elastic and the remainder of this hair just beneath where that other elastic is, and we're going to create a looped ponytail. I'm not going to pull those ends all the way through, and I'll show you why. Before I do that, again, I like a little bit around my face, so we've got to make sure those pieces are down first. But now I'm going to create that little sort of looped ponytail. Make sure this is a little smooth through here. So we've got our loop, okay? And we've got our ends hanging out. That's the important key part here. So I'm going to pull that ponytail a little tighter to my head. Always great for creating a little more lift and volume. Now, this is where the magic happens for this particular style. Find those ends that are hanging out, and we're going to loop them around that bottom ponytail, okay? Whoops, and I dropped my bobby pin. Don't worry, I've got more. So once you get that looped around, really what you are doing is you are concealing the base of that. Now, this particular style looks so beautiful if you have even longer hair than I do, because you can really take those ends that are hanging down and really drape and let them hang and let them be a little bit softer and more messy. Because my hair is on the finer side, it's always an interesting challenge trying to get this to look how I want artistically. So I'm going to take a couple of hairpins and just kind of like loop them and shove them in, because I don't want it to just be a single rolled ponytail. Hairpins are such a fantastic tool in your updo arsenal, as long as you have something for them to lock down into. So whether that's a bobby pin, and I showed this earlier for those of you who are tuning in. Becca! Hi, Becca. I used to work with her. Okay, so one of the things that I think is super helpful when you're creating your own updo is taking a bobby pin. So say you've got this going horizontally like so. And then if you're taking like another piece of hair and you're trying to lock it in place, going up underneath that and coming behind where that bobby pin is on your head, and that's really going to lock that hair into place. So I'm going to take a couple more hairpins and just kind of shove them in here, creating some visual interest. Just locking those down in. Love you too. Again, because we have that ponytail kind of right up on our scalp, when you take those hairpins, they're going to lock into place and really just stay there. So I'm gonna take my mirror and kind of see if I can figure out what's going on. This is hard to do when you are lacking mirrors. Okay, where are we? So here you can see my scalp. If you have that happen, just pull that hair a little bit and soften it out, like so. You could even take a hairpin there and pull those two sections of hair together. Let me show you. So where is it? Right here. And we're gonna anchor one more right there. And that will help the scalp not be visible. Thin hair problems. All right, let's see. Yep, okay. Okay. I want to do another pin right here. So this is where using a mirror is going to be incredibly helpful for you to lock things into place and really change that shape however you want it to be. All right. And I want to pin these bottom pieces in even a little tighter. This feels so secure to my head. Like, I might end up doing this style for my friend's wedding that I'm going to this summer. We shall see. But I'm going to take a bobby pin this time because I want to go up underneath it. And this is going to lock in better than a hairpin. Hairpins are better for coming down into the hair because they're not just going to slip out, where a bobby pin is going to pinch back closed. And so it's going to keep it in place a little bit better than a hairpin in this instance. So let me find where I want it. I'm gonna go here and shove upward. Make sure there's no scalp on that side too. This particular kind of look, I don't have one on me right now, but this would be a great updo to throw some accessories on. So if you have some sort of a bow, I think it would be so pretty. You could weave it through. What you can do if you have a bow, take a hairpin, put the bow here so the two sides are hanging down, fish this through, and you can pull that bow through so you have one piece on each side, and you could tie it and have it hanging underneath, which would be extremely beautiful. Another thing that you could do with this is to take some of those twist pins. I've seen either crystals, I have some gold stars somewhere, or rhinestones, and you can twist those into your hair for more visual interest. That's a really, really easy way to spice up an updo if you're doing it at home. So now that we have this one that's a little more formal, a little more up and elevated, I do want to show you one other option that I think would be fantastic, especially if your hair is on the longer side. So what I'm going to do again is take out all of these little pins and pieces. Like I said, that is so secure to my head. Like, I could probably sleep in that and it would not be going anywhere. Also, I just want to point out all of my little baby hairs. I have EVOLVh to thank for the fact that my hair is coming back because I lost a lot of hair after being sick, and I have been using the Better Roots serum and hair oil. I use the hair oil at night a lot of times, and I will sleep with that in my hair, and then I use the serum, and that has been helping my hair to come back. So highly recommend those if you have not tried Better Roots and you are experiencing any type of hair loss. It has saved me before, and it has saved me again recently when I had a bunch of hair that was falling out. Like, a big, huge shout out to that product, because if you are someone like a woman, like myself, losing hair, it can be very traumatic. Thank you. Better Roots really has saved me. Seriously. Oh, I love hearing other people say that too, because Better Roots is really such an incredible product. I've tried several other lines, and I've had different allergic reactions to either supplements or to the actual topicals. Like, I've had some topicals that just make my head itch so bad, but Better Roots is literally the only thing that I can use that has helped my hair not to continue shedding, but also to help regrow my hair that I haven't had reactions to. All right, so I'm going to do another updo. I'm so happy I rolled my hair before using some Total Control, because now I've got this great volume and grip. Total Control really is a special product. I'm going to show you here as well just a little bit of what it looks like. This product, it has some cornstarch in it, and I think that makes this product incredibly special. So when you blow dry this into your hair, it really locks in whatever shape you've got going on. Like, my hair will stay like this for days. but it's kind of like somewhere between a gel and a cream. And I love blow drying this in, especially on my roots and then through the ends. I kind of brush it through when it's wet, and it really does help to hold style. So if you're starting with clean hair and you don't have dirty hair for an updo, I highly, highly recommend this. Fantastic product. All right, so this next updo that I'm going to do is more for people that have longer hair, and I'm tempted to show you two variations of it. So this is for someone who wants something that kind of comes down over the side, more of an asymmetrical sort of style. So what I'm going to do is kind of below my ears, section this out, and let me show you from the back as well so you can see. All right, it's really where we're creating our anchor this time. It's going to be down on the bottom, and we're going to pull it over to the side. If you have a lot of hair, you may want to braid it out of the way and then have some pieces hanging down over it. But if you're like myself and you might need to preserve a little bit more of that length, volume, and thickness because you don't have a ton of hair, putting it, having it down in a ponytail is going to be a great option for you. So I'm going to take an elastic and really just pull it all over to one side. And this is the part where you could just determine this based on if you're wearing something that's one-shouldered or you're trying to draw attention to one side of yourself. You get to be the judge of where you want to tie this elastic. So I'm going to go over my right today because this is a pretty easy way to show you. So we're going to have this hair cascading down. I love this sort of look for like a one-shouldered gown. It looks so beautiful. Another option that you could do at this moment is going in and actually curling this hair more. That can be really beautiful, but for the sake of a demonstration, I'm just going to let it be what it is from this roller. Now, we've created our base. So you've got all of this space. Because that hair is going sideways, you can drop pins into it. Let me show you. And they are going to lock into place because that hair is going the opposite direction. So now I'm going to let some of this hair down. Another great tip for creating your own updo, not only having a great base to anchor things into, but understanding that you can work in sections is extremely helpful. So like sometimes when I'm doing this type of style, I'll have my anchor and then I will pull some of this from the sides because you can come in and twist these pieces or braid them before you anchor them in, and it creates a lot more visual interest. So I'm going to section out some of these pieces from the front. So just so if you're tuning in, some of you have just come back, I've got some sections from the front here that I'm going to pin these pieces last. I've got my anchor base piece underneath. Let me get this hair out of the way so I can kind of show you from the back what we've got going on. Got our anchor back here, the hair that will fall over it, and then the pieces that we're going to pin last. So because these side pieces are coming in last, I'm actually just going to pin those out of the way. I think that will be easier for you to follow along since there are more moving parts to this particular look. Just keep that out of the way. I love these little double prong clips. These are great. They tend to not leave a giant crease in your hair, so they're great if you are using rollers. You can put these in here, but also they're just good for keeping hair sectioned out of the way. So what we will do now, I've got this whole top section in the back, and what we can do is take bits and pieces, and actually I want to give myself a little more volume here. So let me see. I'm going to use my brush. I don't know where my comb went. I'm going to give myself a little more height through the crown. And because I have that Total Control, that starchy texture is really going to help lock that hair into place. Now, I am from Texas originally, but we're not going to go quite big Texas hair. But I did learn how to do that when I lived there, for sure. To tease your hair, you don't have to do anything wild and crazy. Really just stacking that hair down onto itself is the way to go. You don't have to be too rough with it. Watch real closely. Pull it down. Just pull it down. And it creates these little locks with each other. You can see how much it added right there. Do a little more over here for some balance. Again, nothing too aggressive. Be gentle with your hair. It is a delicate fiber. And then I like to smooth out some of those little loopy bits that tend to pop up when you tease your hair. All right, so got our little side pony over here, my little tiny, tiny pony. And then I'm going to start with the section closest to that ponytail and sort of twist and pin it just above there. Again, when you're looking in the mirror, figure out where you want that volume to be. And I'm actually going to turn around just to get an idea what it's looking like from behind as well. Okay. So I'm going to use some bobby pins and put that in place right above that ponytail. And I'm going to come in kind of behind it. And I'll probably use 2 pins, and what you can do is actually crisscross those. That's pretty secure on its own, but I will take one other bobby pin and go in the opposite direction and lock it with that pin for some security. All right, so we've got those locked in. Newman! Hi! Okay, so now I'm going to take another section right next to that first section that we pinned. And I'm going to also twist this one. I'm going to turn around so I can show you a little bit easier. And I'm going to be pulling that one right next to where that first section is above the ponytail. So, see, like so. And before I pin it, this is the point where you really want to kind of pull it apart, create a bit more volume, and really get it into the shape you want it in before you anchor it down. So same thing with this section. Going to crisscross those pins, and it's going to be right next to that first one. Like so. And for this one, yeah, we'll do anchor 2 pins in there as well. That'll feel better. And then for the third section, take this little bit of hair, and same thing, we're going to kind of start directing it over this general direction, smooth out any weird lumpy bits on the top, and start twisting it to have it land right next to that other piece. You can pull it apart and create more volume and shape and structure the way that you want to. See? Like so. And you'll also notice this particular section is landing right above where that side swept bit is on the bottom for that anchor. All right. And I'm taking that pin and crisscrossing it into the last one. Now, this is where we get to have some fun with the sides and create more visual interest. So what you can do is remove this pin, and for this, you could do a very simple twist. You don't have to be super skilled. You could always just take it, twist it, and rotate it back, and have it laying across the top of that, like so. You could also pull that little twist apart and make it bigger and fatter, makes it more visually interesting. Or you could even do a braid if you feel comfortable braiding your own hair. I know that can be very tricky sometimes on yourself, but I think we'll do that today because my hair is so incredibly fine, and I think sometimes having a braid can really kind of pump up the volume, and you can really pull a braid apart, I think, a little easier. Get a little more hair in that front section. So you'll notice I'm kind of leaning my head because when you braid your hair, that braid is going to go in the direction that you are braiding it. So if you have it kind of going down and back, it's going to be easier to drape that across to this side. So very simple braid, not going to do anything too crazy. But when you create your braid, try to make it a little bit tight because that way it will be really nice, clean sections when you go to fan it out and pull it apart. So because, again, I want that to go back this way, I don't want to have it pulling down because then it's going to have a weird lump when it comes back up. So really trying to kind of turn my head down. This is easier to do on someone else than it is on yourself, I will give you that. But create a really nice tight braid through here. Trying really hard to keep it pulled back, like so. Now this would be a good point that you could throw some WonderBalm on to really smooth out some of those frizz and flyaways. So let me get this elastic on this braid. For some people, if you have like some bleach on your hair and you don't want to use an elastic, you can just tease into the braid and it will actually stay, which is a pretty cool party trick. All right, so here's our braid. Now before I pull this across and pin it, you can see how tiny it is. I don't want it to be a tiny braid. So this is how you fatten a braid and make it look like you have a lot more hair than you might actually, like myself. So starting on those very bottom loops, you're gonna pull them up out of the elastic a bit, like so. Always starting from the bottom, okay? And because, again, my hair is so fine, it kind of looks holy. But when you start pulling those loops above that, that's where the magic starts to happen and that braid will fatten out a bit. You just kind of go starting from that bottom bit and work your way up and pull those hairs to make the braid thicker. And anywhere you've got a little bit of a dip, that's where you want to go and pull and create that balance. You'll notice also when I did this braid, I left plenty on the end there so that I have hair to pull up from to fatten this braid out. Like so. And you just work your way all the way up, pinching and pulling and making it look however you want it to. Like so. Definitely a lot thicker and fatter looking than when we started. So now I'm going to take a little bit of WonderBalm. Such an incredible product if you are blowing out your hair or if you have really curly, coily hair. It smooths out that frizz so beautifully. I've used this product quite a bit on my daughter because she has a lot of natural curl. So I've got my fingers coated. Fascinating product though, because it doesn't have any silicones in it, but it feels like it does. I don't know how they did this. There's some unique ingredients in EVOLVh products, and I know in WonderBalm, one of them is kiwi seed oil. All right, so here's our braid. I'll loosen that up even a little more up here. Keep things simple, easy, and flowing, but this helps to smooth it out and add a little bit more shine. You can see how glossy that made it. Now I'm gonna take this piece and wrap it around. Ooh, and there's my scalp. So I'm gonna kind of, almost like itching at it, it'll kind of pull that hair back down on. And then what I'm going to do is, because it's a braid and we've got that hair kind of pinned over, I can take a hairpin in this, going through this braid. Let me see, pinch it a little closer because my braid is so tiny, like so. And then we can use that when we pull it around to anchor it down into that hair. And my hair wants to puff out a little bit right here. So I'm gonna shove a bobby pin in that because I want it to lay down a little bit smoother. So again, I'll turn around and find that spot. You can kind of see it from right here because that braid can be very tricky to do a braid on yourself. I'm gonna take that and go underneath that hair so there's less visuals of bobby pins. When you're creating an updo, the magic of it is in hiding the pins. You want to hide that work so it remains a bit of a mystery. Okay, that's a bit better. There we go. Okay, where is that pin? I could see it. Yep, tuck that in a little bit more so it doesn't catch the light as much. Okay, now what you can do, if you wanted to, you could do another braid on this side, and I think I will just for some extra balance. Thank you. I'm gonna create another braid right here. Obviously, it won't go back as far. What you could do in that instance is lay it over across the other braid and take these tails and either leave them down for a very soft romantic effect, which I actually like that. I think I might do that. Let me get this braided. Or you could like tuck them in. Personally, I think it'll create a better balance having some pieces out and keeps it very soft, kind of lived in. So again, tilting my head, trying to get that braid going in the direction that I'm going to lay it. It's kind of nice, I have a little bit of WonderBalm still on my hands, so it helps to smooth out the braid while you are pulling your sections. The beauty of this particular style of updo is you really can decide whether you want this to be pinned up at the end of it all, or if you want to leave it down and you could go back and make a bit of a tighter curl. So again, this isn't going to go quite as far around my head, so we don't need to make this braid quite as long. So we'll have this one a little higher, and then I will pull this braid apart just like the last one, and then put a little bit of that WonderBalm over the top of it just to add a little more glossiness to the braid, and it really does help cut down on some flyaways too. All right, and then same thing on this braid, finding those end pieces and starting to pull them up. Don't worry if they're a little loopy at first, you can always fan them out more. And it really just makes you look like you have so much more hair than you do. And you can tell when you pull on one side, it kind of closes the gaps if you have any little holes showing. So now, same thing, I'm going to take another hairpin. You can make that a little better, hang on. Shimmy that hair up a little bit more. So the same thing, I'm gonna take a hairpin and I'm going to poke it through the braid, like so. And then you can take it and wrap it and tuck it. See? Now, like I mentioned, this is the part where you really get to be the artist and decide, do you want to just have kind of an asymmetrical pony kind of thing going on? Or some people like their hair completely up off of them. So what I would recommend for this, don't just take one big chunk of hair and use a pin. You want to take a couple of pieces of hair because it's really going to help fan it out. And you can take maybe this chunk of hair, kind of figure out where your loop is, and you could pin that up and have some pieces cascading down, some up. I'll show you the other option of this, having this down. Personally, if I were going to wear this out, I would curl this a little bit more because I think it adds, again, more visual interest. We've kind of got this rolling tucked look at the top, and I think it would flow really nicely. But if you were going to leave this down, you could take some of that WonderBalm. I like to use WonderBalm almost like a finishing agent for my hair because it creates so much shine and it really cuts down on any frizz that you've got going on. This is such a great way to really boost the glossiness of your hair. I also like to take a boar bristle brush and really just kind of comb through that. Look how nice that is. It's so soft and so smooth. Like, there are no flyaways. You could tell because I've got a lighter wall. So that's one way that you can use that. I also have these little fuzzies next to my ears. You always want to pay close attention to this because that's what people see in pictures, right? Is whatever is around your face. So, okay. So the other option, if you don't want to wear this down and you want to have it all up off of you, take a few sections of hair, make sure you have some bobby pins ready, and you can loop it around your finger like so. So you've got this little barrel roll like that. take a bobby pin. Yes, it is such a secret weapon. It doesn't matter what your hair texture is. WonderBalm is fantastic. Shove it through that little barrel and poke it back down in there. Leave those loopy bits out. It makes it more interesting, I think. And then here as well, kind of create that curl. Figure out which way it wants to go. I always try to figure out what the hair is trying to do and just work with whatever it's doing. Don't fight it too much because then you'll be annoyed. So figure out where this is going. Take this on that inner portion where my thumb is. I go up underneath my hand because that's a little easier. And shove this into here as well. Kind of lock it into those other pins. I could feel that. This would be a good spot since that curl kind of dropped. You can take a hairpin and tuck it back into that last section, like so, up and down. Hairpins, like I mentioned earlier, they do better when you angle them down. And then there's this little bit of hair. So looping that around my fingers as well. I'm going to turn around so I can show you. Another bobby pin. Up underneath. Like so. And then before we finish it out, we want to make sure that everything is laying how we want it before we lock it into place. So, coming in, I want to hide this little bit and take a hairpin and kind of shove that over it. I always try to hide all the evidence of how we got here. Hide the rubber bands, hide the hairpins as best we can to preserve the mystery of a good updo. And then another little trick, if you've got one of these funky little loopy bits, you can take a hairpin, fish it through your stray, twirl it, and shove, like so. I would want to curl that little bit, but I like that it's hanging down. I think it softens the entire look. And I want to lift it, so we're going to use another hairpin. Hairpins are such a magic tool when you're doing an updo. Highly underrated. Bobby pins tend to flatten things down, but hairpins, you can maintain some of the volume and change shapes very easily. So yeah, this stuff I would want to curl and leave out. Again, if your hair is a little bit longer than mine, it looks so beautiful having a couple of extra pieces hanging down and cascading. But this is our final look. So this is what you do when you have got everything where you want it, everything is flowing how you want it to. That's when you go in with UltraFlex. And don't be shy, get in there with it. And really lock it. And the nice thing is that because this isn't an aerosol, if you wanted a little more extra definition, you can really coat those pieces and it's going to cut down on some of that frizz. So this little fuzzy bit is driving me crazy. Just lay down. Get that to lay down a bit more. A little less fuzz through there. My bangs, let's get those. A little more volume, you can kind of grab from the top of your bangs, lift if you have bangs, kind of squish like so. Get a little pat, pull up some extra pieces if you want to. And that is the final look. I hope that you all enjoyed this so much. It's really fun for me to be able to play with some updos and show you all how to fix your hair from home while sharing some of my favorite products from EVOLVh. I do also want to share that if you have tuned into this and you are interested in these products, there will be a bundle that you can get to help create your own updos. And the wonderful thing about EVOLVh is they have these little travel bottles. So if you've never tried one of these products and you're curious about how it works on your hair, you can always try one of these. But again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I had a lot of fun doing this. If you have any questions, My inbox is always open. I'm always happy to answer. But again, thank you so much, and I hope that you have a wonderful kickoff to your summer. Bye!